Hi, my name is Bobby, and I'm going to create video games. So to create video games, I've been doing a lot of research. I reached out to a lot of YouTube shows. I've gone and bought a class, Thomas Brush class, Time Gamedev, wonderful class. I'm looking at a second class. And it's sort of like I want to learn from these mentors. Even though our style will be a little different, the concept of the games are sort of the same. The basics, I guess, of the games. Our story is our story, our characters are our characters. But the basics of the game, the coding and everything. So what I want to do is reach out and do those. And over I keep seeing, don't make your first game your like the big game that you want to do. And I thought, man, I'm 59, moving on here. I've got a limited amount of time that I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm like, of course I want to make my first game the game that I want to make. And the game that I wanted to make was Paradox Wars. It was a comic book that I self-published, did a Kickstarter. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. So I reached out to my friend Andy Kuhn. Andy's the artist who has illustrated the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He is also the co-creator of Fire Breather. He's done Marvel, DC. He's done all kinds of work. He's a great artist. But his background was in animation. So I reached out to Andy and said, hey, can you take these characters that are a little bit more too complex in the comic book style and create an animation style with them? He's like, yeah, sure. So the past few months we've been going back and forth, and he's starting to kick me all these character designs. And I keep saying, don't make your first game the game that you want to, be your big game. And I'm like, man. So I had these other sets of characters. I'm like, we could do some tweaks and changes, and we have a comic book by them, and I did like 80 strips, and we could do some shorter games. We can learn the process, make our mistakes. I don't own the video game store in Northern Kentucky by not making mistakes. I started off in flea markets. I've co-owned comic book stores and sold comic book stores and closed comic book stores. I've had other online businesses. So you don't just start one day and you're going to create the greatest video game ever when you've never created a video game. So here I'm like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back. Take a little time, and as my youngest son likes to say, teach an old dog new tricks. Let's make our mistakes with these couple games. Let's learn with these couple games. So I wanted to share some of that artwork that we got from Andy, even though we're not going to be using it for a while. The first one here is Tamara Rose. This is from a comic book series that I first created called Blood and Roses, and then later repackaged and redid a new story called Paradox Wars. This one here was the bad villain, Marta. And then last but not least is a henchman, villain, evil, whatever. Marta sort of uses them throughout the story. And these characters are called the Huntars. And within Blood and Roses, the Huntars sort of played a part. We may be bringing the Huntars over to our first game. I really like this character design, so we might be bringing them over. So we're still working on building the studio. We've got Clay's been working on the Discord, social media. We've got the Patreons page. We're posting the prequel comic over there. Of course, we'll be getting a lot more gaming stuff over there as it develops. I finished up a presentation video, like a 20-second video that will present the title of the game, and we probably won't be releasing that for a couple weeks. When we do, I'll let you guys know. What I'm hoping you get from this video is that there's a lot to building a game, whether you do it yourself, solo, or if you're going to build a team. And right now, the way I see it, the type of game that I want to do, I've got to build a team. And as I said in the past video, I've got Clay working on social media, I've got Joe working on the animation, and myself will be putting together the person to help us do the Unity coding and building the games, and I'll be doing the graphics. And actually, right after this video, I've got some sprite work to do. So even though you guys won't see it for a while, I want to get on here and say, look, maybe your first direction isn't the direction you needed to go in. Maybe you need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and just go, I know it's going to be a rough road. I know we're going to make mistakes. I know it's going to take a lot longer than expected, but where should I go? If you're going to be a one and done, make it your game. But if you're going to build games for a living, if you're going to build this for your life, make your mistakes now. Learn from them. Learn from others people's mistakes, and then go create that game. Thanks for listening. Remember, Skystorm Games. We've got a YouTube channel. We got a Discord. And we got a Patreon. So check them out. And hey, I'm sure I'll have something to share next week. Take care. Bye.